Welcome to July Compromises, the show where I totally don't fuck up the name and call it June. No, that's not something I would ever do. So either way, let's talk about High Score Girl. I'm not the biggest fan of cheese. I'm allergic to it, in fact, and there is quite an excessive amount of cheese in High Score Girl. I'm of course talking about the visual motif of showing video game characters in the real world. For the most part, I found it charming, and it's not like I didn't understand why the show chose to do this. It's a show about how video games and media can be life-changing. There's inherently cheese there. I respected that the show chose to go all in on that instead of toning it down for the sake of appealing to more people. But I'd be lying if I said my bias against cheese didn't prevent me from enjoying the show as much as I would have liked. I respected it, as I said, but there were definitely times where it was too much for me. So there's the scene where they're having a competition to see how many different animals they come across. It started with normal animals, but then they started seeing video game characters and reacted like it was the most bizarre thing they'd ever seen, and I couldn't figure out what the real world equivalent to that was supposed to be. It was weird. So yeah, it wasn't a motif that I loved. That was until the ending. As Haruo realizes that the plane has already left and he wouldn't reach the airport in time anyway, he falls into despair. But then, visuals of the video game characters start to appear as they change the lights and stop cars around him. And then Guile, this character who had been deeply important to Haruo, uses a sonic boom that causes turbulence. This is the cheesiest, most badass thing I have ever seen, and it wouldn't have worked if the show hadn't been consistent with this motif. It would have felt out of place and spoiled the message of the show. But in being consistent, it created an ending that visualized the bond that these two created through video games. Something so powerful that it warped reality so that they could be together. I highly recommend both the anime and manga for this series if you haven't seen it, because High Score Girl is still a wonderful, charming, fantastic little story.